It amazes me how people get paid. Really does. All I wanted to do was live stream. Why does this look so fucking blurry? I don't even fucking know. Whatever, man. It's streaming. Fuck you. Fuck YouTube. Anyway, so as the title suggests, something came about the other day on this actually terribly blurry fucking stream because YouTube fucking sucks on a consistent basis. There you go. That's all it took. Is that so much? Thank you. Anyway, fuck this fucking platform. Bunch of fat, useless, disgusting piles of human feces can get famous because mommies and daddies do everything for them, along with their little friends and whatever. But me, I'm stuck doing shit and having this god-awful system. I wanted to do a live stream with the Nintendo Direct, so I had to download another streaming software because OBS requires you to keep logging in and out, and it was causing problems with Twitch because these people are worth millions and billions, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. The frameworks are built for you. Everything should be easy, but no, they got to make everything impossible. So anyway, let's talk baseball for a sec because George Springer the other day mentioned something that I found to be very, very interesting and alongside what I've been saying for years. Now, just that you know, I played sports most of my life, baseball especially, and there was never an instance in my childhood to my adult years where the United States would put anything above baseball. If you were having open heart surgery, you would stop and say, wait, the playoffs are on, because baseball was everything here. And now suddenly it's taken a backseat to things like football, basketball, even fucking. It's kind of sad. The league has been dead for a very long time, and the only interest I had was watching Derek his career because he was the best player that I ever saw live. You can take all your statistical whores like A-Rod and Bonds and whatever and shove them up your ass because they never won. And in fact, and will always say, was handed to the Yankees specifically because Alex Rodriguez got caught with steroids for the first time. When he got caught the second time, it was more like, yeah, you can go away now. But be that as it may, George Springer on the Toronto Blue Jays, for those of you that don't know what the scenario is, right now in the American League East, which should be called the American League Least, the Yankees and Toronto Blue Jays are playing out the season. They're tied. There are only 3 games left. The Yankees are up against the last place Orioles. The Blue Jays are against the second to last place Rays. And right now the division is going to be decided on who chokes the most, because that's all sports really are now. It sucks. They've dumbed the game down so bad that these rich juice heads can look good, and they don't really look good. This is why they're not really breaking quarterback yardage and completion percentage records anymore, because the old farts just a few years ago in this kids league, they set the standard, set like 7,000 yards passing and 70% completion percentages were just, yeah, whatever. And now these kids can't get to that point. But if you compare them to the players that played when there was defense, that's, yeah, whatever. Meanwhile, there are no running backs that are coming close to what the running backs used to do. Every now and then somebody has a year, but that's about it. No wide receivers are coming close to it. It's just quarterbacks throwing screen passes and getting 10,000 yards a game for it. It's pathetic. Basketball, same thing. It's just a three-point shooting contest. These guys stand around, and then they want to compare the scoring numbers, points per game, points overall, so on and so forth. And with baseball, it's the same thing. Let's make the ballparks really small. Let's make the mounds really flat. Let's outlaw pitching, throwing near people or anything. Let's make the strike zones. And let's let people strike out as much as possible. Also, whatever you do, force stolen bases. Don't let people throw over, because these so-called fans don't actually like the game of baseball. So, well, I don't know what you're reconnecting, because it's still running live. So whatever you're talking about. Anyway, there we go. But as the game has been dumbed down and as these players have gotten so much worse, and my God, they're atrocious. And as I've said so many times in the past, just YouTube, look up the first World Series, go through every NLCS. You'll notice there is a huge, huge downgrade in the quality of the game at this point. And I saw it back when the Giants, with 85 wins every year, won the World Series every other year for a period of about 5 years. But now what we have going on is George Springer has mentioned that the umpires are kind of rigging the game to help the Yankees win the division while the Blue Jays are losing. Now, listen, the Blue Jays have been their own worst enemies. They don't score anymore. They do this every year. They fall apart in September. They don't come around towards the end of the season down the stretch. There was the Yankees. Well, the Yankees weren't even supposed to be in the playoffs. And the Blue Jays swept them to knock them about 5 games out of the last spot, just so that the Blue Jays can lose virtually every game going into another series with the Yankees, so the Yankees can beat them and get into the playoffs. Like, this is what the Blue Jays do every year. And really, they were a last place team for the better part of the season until midway through when they just got hot. And the Yankees, of course, did their usual swoon, fell apart, and let the Blue Jays take first place. And since then, now it's been more or less them trying to fend everybody off. But at this point, it's pretty much just them and the Yankees. There are 3 games left, as I mentioned. And with George Springer bringing this up, it kind of validates the point that I've been making. Every single season, every year, that the New York Yankees have been playing since, I guess, the baby bomber era has started, with or without Judge, Stanton, at one point Gary Sanchez, even though Austin Romine was an overall better catcher than Gary Sanchez, the Yankees always start off unbeatable from about the last day of April into the middle of June. Then they suck for 2.5 months. Then they pretty much turn it back on in September. This happens every single year. Doesn't matter who's playing for them. Doesn't matter who's pitching for them. Their ERA is always so low. Their home runs are always so high, even though as a team, their batting average is kind of crap. But whatever the case, it always seems as if every game follows the same pattern. They don't give up any runs for about 3 to 4 innings. They dogpile and hit a bunch of home runs, knocking around a team that looks like they have no interest whatsoever in competing. And then it goes pretty much from there, whether or not the bullpen can figure it out or they end up just winning the game, losing, whatever. This has been going on for years, and it's getting a little suspicious. Now, this comes from somebody, I used to be obsessed with this team. The Yankees were everything to me. I wanted to play center field for the New York Yankees. Don Mattingly was like God to me. Then it was Derek Jeter, obviously. I followed their every movement, their every way. I can answer questions from about the last 30 years that nobody knows the answers to, including the one that I keep wrapping. The simple question, name me the trade that they had with Bud Selig's Milwaukee Brewers in 96. Nobody can get this one. Bob Wickman, Gerald Williams for originally Graham Lloyd and Pat Lestach, but because Graham Lloyd had bone spurs in his elbow and Lestach had a broken foot and never played, for compensation, the commissioner at the time, Bud Selig, gave them Ricky Bones. That, you can look it up. Okay, that's how nuts I was. I remember when Darren Holmes in 98 was traded from the Rockies to the Yankees, or they signed him from the Rockies, and then he retired to become a coach because he wanted to be a part of what was going on. See, this is what I was about. They were everything to me. And then Steinbrenner had to take the team over again after 2001, Game 7, 2-1 loss, or was it 3-2, thanks to Mariano Rivera. And at that point, on the bandwagon, couldn't do it. They were a choking dog, miserable pile of trash. So I'm sorry, I root for winners. I don't root for losers, especially not the greatest franchise in the history of sports. So it bothers me that every year it seems as though seasons are being handed to them. I like when things get earned, and I don't like when things are given. The Yankees every year are in this pathetic division that nobody wants to step up for. Even when the Red Sox win 106 games, next year they're in last place. No matter how many times they draft well or develop well, the Orioles had 2 years, and now they don't. And then you have the Blue Jays. And this is what the Blue Jays do. But I just found it funny that George Springer, because he's not the first player to say in the last few years that baseball's fixing things. Pete Alonso, at least, was saying that they change the balls when someone's playing for a contract, and that's another issue. You notice that in 2022, Aaron Judge was playing for a contract. The Yankees start off the season historically. They were historically extraordinary. And every single game, same thing. Unbeatable, couldn't be hit. First 2.5 months, they won like 50 out of 60 games. It was ridiculous. And then they did their usual swoon and barely got in the playoffs. Couldn't barely beat the Guardians, who even way back since they've been called the Indians, the Yankees always beat, and then got swept out of the playoffs, embarrassed themselves. Then they didn't make the playoffs the next year. But then the following year, the Padres apparently had to get rid of their entire roster because they couldn't afford it. They had way too much in their players. Now, when you sign a Tatis Jr. for 45,000 years and a Machado for 42,000 years, 30 plus million a year for each, you're probably going to have an issue with payroll, especially when you're the Padres. So they were ready to just firehouse, clean up everything, get rid of every player they could. And it turned out that all they did was give the Yankees Juan Soto and Trent Grisham for sweaty socks. Michael King was supposed to be a really good pickup, but you heard from him lately? Because I know I haven't. And nobody else left that team. They have the same team. Then people had the audacity to say that Aaron Judge was offered a $400-some million contract from the Padres, which was never mentioned in the winter meetings when he signed. And if that was the case, save the team from being bankrupted. Whatever the case, so the Yankees get Juan Soto. He's playing for the most historic, monumental contract in the history of baseball. And wouldn't you know, once again, Yankees unbeatable in the first part of the season. Swoon in the season, getting to a point where they weren't even going to make the playoffs. And then suddenly aren't that great towards the end. But hey, those Orioles, man, those first-place Orioles, man, they sure loved dropping their trousers and taking it up the ass for the Yankees just to make sure that they won that division and only had to play the Orioles, and the Guardians. Get to a World Series and humiliate themselves yet again, this time against the Dodgers, who are the biggest paper champions in the world. Have no business winning a World Series. All they did to get there was beat the Padres barely and then beat the Mets barely and then just kill the Yankees because that's what the Yankees do. They choke and they suck. So it's either now, which were meant to stop corruption, have embraced it with open arms. So I'm kind of teetering on, is it fixed? Because I think it is. Whenever it seems as though the storyline fits a team winning, it always appears as though that's what happens. So I believe there's a little bit of the fix. But when it comes to the Yankees specifically, I also think that there's something to do with what I've been saying before, that as long as there is an NBA playoff and as long as there is a football start to the season, they will have good Mays to mid-Junes until the NBA season's over, and then they'll have good Septembers until the playoffs start because they are Invisible Boy from Mystery Men. They can only do what they do when no one's watching. That's what it comes down to. When football season starts, of course it's going to take precedence. It's America's pastime now. Everybody gambles on it. So obviously no one's going to be paying attention to the stupid odds. That a lot of the Yankees' success in the recent Mays and Junes could have something to do with the Knicks being in the postseason. But now that the Knicks brilliantly fired Tom Thibodeau, I'm pretty sure that's not going to be an issue anymore. But we'll see in the future. However, if you notice that the Yankees, once again, now it's Cody Bellinger and I guess Trent Grisham, who turned into fucking Brady Anderson overnight when he hit 50 home runs on the Orioles. Since they're both playing for contracts, there is a weird convenience to me that the Yankees suddenly turning it on in September again. But as I mentioned, it could also be because football season's there. But to sum this up, I wanted to give you a playoff sort of breakdown and my own projections as to what could and may, in fact, happen. As it stands now, the American League has nothing solidified other than the Mariners have already won their division. Now, look, I don't give a fuck, all right? The only reason why I even care about any of this baseball shit right now is because I have to be right. I've been telling everybody that the Yankees will never win. However, if there was a team that a little Seattle team with a Switch 2 and Nintendo patches on their sleeves, because that would be great. Imagine that. And you could say that's fixed. Hottest console out there. It's breaking records. Why not let the team that represents Nintendo win the World Series? I doubt it's going to happen, all right? I doubt it's going to happen. Seattle has a 240 hitting catcher that's got 60 home runs. Baseball is pathetic in every way, shape, and form. Anyone that thinks these players throw harder now and like that means anything because you just swing quicker, what's the fucking problem? None of them have control. None of them change speeds. None of them have command. Just choke up on the bat if it's 105, which it's not. You'd never even be able to see 105, but whatever. And just kind of click at the ball. It's not a big fucking deal. But when you're trying to play golf with pitches that are over your head, yeah, problem. I also noticed that they were mentioning that there would be robot umpires. I've got an idea. Call the fucking strike zone the way it is in the rule book. I want to see some high strikes, baby. I want to see letter strikes. None of this, well, it was a little bit above the belt. Yeah, and what's your point? None of these assholes would hit at all because they can't hit the ball anywhere higher than middle of the plate with all that digging up they do and their shoveling swings and everything. So I want to see baseball force the pitch up here. So every time these numbnuts hang another meatball slider, they'll just swing through at these hitters because they don't know how to hit anything higher than shin high, knee high maybe if they're really on fire for the duration. But you know that's not what's going to happen. It's all about the home runs. Because in 98, people were rooting for Mark McGwire. Since he was a kid, we all knew he would be the only one that could break the home run record. So when he started hitting home runs because he was playing in the 80s, we got excited for him. The Sosa thing was more a Cubs fan concept. It was not universally, more or less. I'm not saying nobody cared about Sosa. What I'm saying is it was because of McGwire. Turns out he was on Andro. And we knew that back then. Nobody said anything. But whatever the case. The home run thing is not baseball. This is not a home run derby. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. It has nothing to do with the game. Just sitting back, scratching your ball sack, waiting for a home run is not how baseball was meant to be played. But that's what baseball wants because the nerds love it. They love their algorithms. They love their analytics. The geeks that act like that they're big-ass fans that are just there specifically to post their TikTok videos and their Twitter feeds and everything like that of what's happening so that they can be the first to tell you. Just want to see highlights, so they can be the first wannabe ESPN assholes online to show you, oh, look, another home run, another strikeout. That pitch was clocked at 103, even though it took about a full second to get to home plate. So that's what the game is about now. But with all that being put aside, the way it works is Seattle is winning. The Astros have 85 wins. The Tigers, who had the best record in baseball until about July, they're struggling to survive. So now they're battling with the motherfucking Guardians again, who, for the love of all that is holy, do not let that team in the postseason, all right? It's really not a big deal. They don't fucking belong there. I may be the biggest Jose Ramirez fan, as he is one of the few players that doesn't make me vomit when he plays. But do not put that team in the playoffs, especially maybe. But because the Yankees are going to be there, do not put the Guardians in the playoffs. The Tigers have to jump ahead of them. The Astros have to jump ahead of them. Knock them out of the way. Nice story, good run. Yeah, go away now, all right? And they're playing with the Tigers. They have the same record. The Tigers finally beat them in a game. And now you have the Blue Jays and the Yankees. So what could happen If the Yankees were to win the division, they would be quite possibly the 1. If the Mariners somehow jump ahead of them and they're the 1, then they will at least be the 2. There is no way, unless they drop out of the division lead and the Astros or Tigers get. No, that's not even. They have 90 wins. There's no way. 91 wins, I think. The 2. Unless the Toronto Blue Jays knock them out, then they'll be the 4. So they could either be the 1 or they could be the 4. That's how they lose the division, they'll be the 4. The Mariners have already clinched their division. They're probably not going to play for anything. They could go for the best record. They're still 2 games behind with 3 games left. They're not going to get it. So they're pretty much solidified at the 2. Whoever wins the Central is going to be the 3 and the 6, quite possibly, because the Red Sox are still there. They have a better record. They could be the 5. If it turns out the Yankees do not win the division and they are the 4, the best of 3, they're done in 2. Done in 2. It may go 3 because it will take place in Yankee Stadium, but they're going to be done in the first. That's it. Unless the Red Sox really just fall apart. But they're not built that way. The Red Sox are always the underdog now, and they love playing the Yankees. So they would knock them out right away. I'm pretty sure that's not what's going to happen. What's probably going to happen is the Blue Jays, they'll play the Red Sox, and they'll get beat in 2 games. It's probably what's going to happen. The Yankees will then win the division, be the 1. Mariners will be the 2. And then the Yankees will have to play the winner of the Central Division team, or the Central Division, and either the Astros or the Blue. Now, this is what becomes a little bit of an interesting possibility that the Yankees can play a best-of-3 series to get into the playoffs against the Red Sox is nothing compared to the implications of them winning a division and playing a division series against the Astros. Now, I have no faith in the Astros. They fucking suck. Well, everybody sucks, but they really suck. Their time has been done. And it was because they don't have the same players. They're trying to bring up new players. And that's all well and good, but you can't even beat the Mariners. So with the Astros in the playoffs against the Yankees, they would have to rely on the Yankees just being the Yankees and completely falling over their own feet for the Astros to not be the Guardians and say, yeah, well, we can do even worse. I doubt series against the Astros. Could be wrong. However, if the Tigers were to be let's see, they would be the 6, and they were to beat the Mariners in the play-in series and face the Yankees in the division series. The Yankees are out in 3-4 games. Tigers, again, like the Red Sox, have nothing to lose, and they love playing the Yankees. So that's how it's going to work. But what could work is that the Yankees win the division. They play the Guardians in the play-in series, which they'll win, or the division series, which they'll win easily. And then they would play the winner, the Mariners, and either there would be the 4-5. So it would be the Mariners and Red Sox, or the Mariners and Blue Jays. And if you think the Blue Jays would beat the Red Sox in a play-in series, you're out of your mind. So it would be the Mariners against the Red Sox. The Red Sox would probably win that series. So the only way the Yankees would get back to the World Series is if they played the Guardians in the division series and the Mariners in the ALCS. This is different than last year, where their only competition was really the Guardians. So that's how that's rounding up. So what happens will be up to these last 3 games. Will the Yankees be the 1, win the division? Will they be the 4, not win the division? We'll see. If they are the 1, I think they're going to at least go to the ALCS because that's how baseball wants to fix it. If they do not win the division and they're the 4, they're out immediately. And so are the Blue Jays when they play whoever wins that play-in series because Blue Jays are trash too. So that's how that's rounding up. But as I said right now, the only thing that's up, there are two things. Well, there are a bunch of things, really. The Red Sox are 2 games ahead. They're probably going to finish in the 5. Lose all 3 games, and the other teams behind them, the Astros, the Guardians, the Tigers, have to win all 3 games. So they're pretty much going to be the 5. All that matters now is who's the 1, who's the 4, who's the 3. No, who's the 6. That's all that matters. Who's the 1, the 4? That's whoever wins the American League East, and who's the 6? That's whoever gets in from the Central Division. So that's where we are with that. And the National, only one thing left in the National League. 1 spot. The Phillies are going to be the 2. The Brewers, who got absolutely slaughtered by the Yankees in the first 3 games in Yankee Stadium this year, they're the 1. That is set in stone. That cannot be changed. They're a couple of games ahead of the Padres. The Padres will be the 4. The 5 is going to be the Cubs. And now we've got 1 spot left. The fucking Mets and the Reds and the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks can rot now. Fuck them. I don't care about them. But the Reds, you were the first franchise ever. You were the reason why there was a Black Sox scandal, because you beat the White Sox in 1919. You swept the Oakland A's in 90. Swept them. They were highly favored, and you swept them. Can you please, for the love of all that you believe in, come up with something and knock these damn... Start off with the best receiver. It's not like the Yankees where I just want them as a fan because they don't make the playoffs anymore and whatever. I want the Mets to go 0-162 as many times as it takes for them to be contracted. I fucking despise that franchise. I want them gone. So just knock them out. It's not a big deal, okay? Last year they started off so bad because it was a rebuilding phase and then just got hot in the second half. Won every game against the Yankees, though, because the Yankees are fucking choking dog losers. And we're one of the top teams in baseball and then just ran out of gas. So they are just 1 game ahead of the Reds, 2 games ahead or 2 games away from being knocked out with 3 games left. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm pretty sure they'll get in. They might even stumble in. They might even have the Reds lose every game so that they lose every game and still get in, because that's they would be playing at this point they would be playing the Dodgers in the play-in series. Unless something monumental happens with the Dodgers and they lose out to the Padres, which is not going to happen. They're going to play the Dodgers in the play-in series. They're out. Not even going to look at it. Even if they play the Padres, even if they play the Phillies, they'll be out. So there's no point in them being there. This play-in series shit, look, the most I'll accept is 2 divisions. Don't give me the travel shit. You're playing everybody anyway. But there should be at most 10 teams in each league. 1 league, the best record in that league wins the pennant. Period. It's 162 games. You're not basketball. You're not football. You're not even hockey. You don't need 16 fucking teams in the playoffs, all right? But whatever. We're going to throw in an 82-win Met team, throw them in there, right? They get knocked out immediately. There was no point to that other than the 3 getting their arms warmed up or whatever. At that point, the winner of that series would play the Phillies, and the Brewers would play the winner of the Cubs and the Padres. Padres are going to win that series. It's the Cubs. The only team the Cubs... The only reason why they won the World Series is because they played the Indians. Okay, they're going to lose to the Padres. So it would be the Padres against the Brewers. Brewers aren't going to win that series. Sorry, Brewers fans, they're fucking terrible. And even if they don't have Nestor Cortez Jr., still, the Brewers are fucking terrible. So they're not going anywhere. So at that point, it will be another NLCS involving Hey, what's up, Billy? How you doing? Thanks for your comments, by the way. It would be another NLCS involving the Dodgers. Would that be the case? Yes, because the Dodgers would play. No. It would not necessarily. It would be them against the Phillies. Oh yeah, no, then it'll be the Dodgers because they'll be the Phillies. Yeah, here we go. I want to say this now because if this happens the way I'm saying it happens, then everyone's got a bow to me. But the Dodgers will beat the Phillies, and then it'll be the Padres against the Brewers. So it'll be the Dodgers against the Padres again in the NLC. Well, not again because they're in the division series. It's so. Oh, I can't stand sports anymore, man. I used to love sports. I used to love the highest level of competition, the best players. I wanted to emulate them. I wanted to play baseball for a living. And I had the goods, man. I had the ability. I just didn't have – I was a choking dog too. That's why I know choking dog syndrome. I know what it looks like. And, it really was just experience. I didn't play in organized leagues enough. I didn't play in Little League that much. When I finally played in an organized league, I kept defaulting to my teammates all the time because I was scared of making myself look bad. I still have the best style you'll ever see. I have great power. I tried swinging. I went to my friend's house to see him for the first time in 13 years or whatever it was. And he's got his kids and everything. I see his wife for the first time in a while too. And he goes, yeah, let's go play baseball. I'm like, of course, because it's your house. We're going to go play baseball. We go out to the field. And I swung for the first time in 13 years. I got a blister on my finger as usual. It was, but I was like, man, I can't get the timing down. I didn't realize how hard it was to get my time. Now, granted, they were throwing from 40 feet, but I'm playing as kids, and they're 14, 12, and I can't hit them. But, finally I got my timing. He hit 3 home runs. I'm like, that's why I kept you around. But, I got to get back into – I want to play baseball again so bad. But I watched the first couple of months. All I did was yell. It's just so they can't do anything right. These guys aren't even amateurs. They're beneath amateurs now. And I'm just saying that it's pretty obvious it's become professional wrestling now. It's all fixed. It's all pre-scripted. The Yankees in the same manner, the seasons go the same way. And now they're playing for a division they have no business winning. And the only reason is because their competition's terrible. But, yeah, so that's how it's going right now. So the American League is a little muddy. You got a couple of things that can happen in the last 3 games. National League is pretty much done.